All right, today we're going to do an install. This is the M&R 40-inch behind the grill kit for the Ram truck. What you get in the kit is you get your 40-inch light bar, choice of color, white or amber. I chose amber for this one. You get longer bolts that you're going to replace a factory bolt with to attach the mounting brackets, and then bolts to bolt your light bar to the brackets. This is a little bit different than the regular Ram truck. So I purchased some additional hardware, some longer hardware, and some sleeves here that we're going to use to bridge the little bit wider gap that you see between the TRX bumper and the traditional Ram. So I'll show you how it's done here in a minute. We're going to remove the lower fender wells from each side. And there's a total of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8mm bolts. Remove these 3, loosen these 2 on both sides, and remove that lower fender liner. Or detach the harness here. This is all the wiring for everything forward in the bumper. With that detached, we next need to get to these bolts here. There's 3 on each side. They're 18mm, and they connect the bumper to the frame horns. Once those are removed, the whole bumper will pull right off. The bumper pulled out, you can now see the difference between the regular Ram and the TRX, and why this kit is a little bit different. It's normally just open behind the bumper on a regular Ram. This truck has the trans cooler and the intercooler and radiator up above, and this ram air system that's directing air in that direction. Okay, so now we need to take our bumper apart. Our goal is to get our 40-inch light bar into this plastic grill up front. But in order to do that, we need to separate the bumper itself from this inner part. So there's a ton of bolts here. I believe they are 15mm or 13, I can't remember which. We have some 10s here, and I've already started to remove the wiring harness. That all needs to be removed so we can pull this up and clear. So I'll start pulling that off now. Previous ones, those were T40s. The last pieces that we have to remove, each of these braces have 5 13mm bolts. And there is 4 in the face of the backside of this bumper brace, and 2 more on each side that brace it to the lower half of the bumper. We're going to remove all those and then pull this section free. All right, I got everything unbolted. I got the harness off. We're ready to separate these 2 pieces. Word of advice before you do it, just get a marker. Mark which side is the top, which side is the driver, so that when you have it apart and you're installing your bar, you don't get confused as to which side is which. All right, so this section is taken apart. We want our light to reside right in here, and it slides in perfectly in between the bracing, both here and here, so we don't have to cut any of that. But for me personally, I'm not too comfortable with removing and discarding the air dam, because I want to keep that ram air focused on where it belongs in the truck. So I'm going to separate the plastic piece from the steel part, install the brackets, and then cut slots for the brackets to protrude into this air cowl here to keep it as sealed as possible. So these longer bolts that M&R provides, you're going to thread up through the this top bolt here, and it's going to protrude as a stud, which you can use to connect your bracket to. So I'm going to thread those in right now, and since they're stainless, I'm going to put a little bit of lubrication on them so I don't have to worry about galling. So I've got the studs through, and I'm fitting up the brackets, and this is where you can see the difference between the regular Ram truck and the TRX. It looks like this is an added bumper panel for the TRX, this piece here. And it looks like the regular truck uses this hole right here, because if you were to line up your brackets with this hole, it would fit perfectly. When we use the ones that are installed on this truck, it is a a little too wide. So the solution I came up with is to put a spacer in between my bracket and my light bar, and that's what I got the sleeves for. But in the meantime, I need to take this factory bracket and just grind it down a little bit on top here. Not much, just enough so that it will sit square because it's running into this piece up top. So I'm going to go take it down to the grinder now and relieve it a little bit so it'll sit in there flat. As you can see, I had to grind down very little, just relieving this corner a little bit to fit this contour here. And now the thing sits in flat and nice. I will prime the edge and paint it really quick before I bolt it down, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I've primed and painted the parts of the brackets that I ground down, and I have them bolted in. They're in there firm and square. The next thing that we have to do is get them to fit inside of the plastic air cowl. So in order to do that, I'm going to first try to make a Dremel slot into this to be as least intrusive as possible, and it's probably going to take some doing, so I'll go and mark and cut this slot and see how it works out. So I've got the light bar slid into place. It fits perfectly in that gap, just like I'd hope. With the saw kerf there, the brackets, they appear factory. It's very, very unintrusive into that air cowl. But I need to get some longer spacers, so I'm off to the hardware store to get some 1-inch spacers to fill this gap. I have lock washers to put on each end of them so that the light doesn't spin with vibration, and we should be good to go. So I got everything fit into place here so you can get a better idea of what I did. With the brackets protruding through the plastic inner liner, we now have this gap in between the light bar and the brackets because the TRX seems to use a wider mount. So I got these 1-inch sleeves, okay, and longer bolts, and I'm just gapping, bridging this gap here with these sleeves, and there's really nothing that's going to hit this bar or impact it other than wind. So decently tight and snug should keep this thing pointed straight. And the really nice thing when you load this bar in here, it's in position right now. You don't have to cut anything. It's absolutely perfect. You don't have to cut out any of the supports, and it's going to sit right in this opening. I've got my hardware all tightened down. I've aimed the light bar straight and level, and confirm that it's not moving around in there. So now I need to put the bumper sections back together, put all the bolts into it, and then we'll route cable. Okay, in order to route this cable, I need to make a hole. I'm going to make it 5/16 of an inch. I'm going to put it here, just on the other side of that indentation where my black mark is. I'm going to drill that through, feed the cable through there, and then I'm going to wrap the part of the cable that goes through the hole in friction tape so as to not damage it. So I've drilled the hole 5/16, fed my cable through it, and like I say, I wrapped the top with friction tape to protect the wire over time. All right, I've bolted the bumper back together, and if you've done it right, you should have 2 of the 8mm bolts left because you replaced them with the M&R ones. So I've got this thing all together. I've routed my cable out the side. I'm going to keep it close to the existing wiring. It's usually the easiest is to follow what the factory has done when you can. So I'm going to get this bumper stuck back on there, and we'll wire this thing up to the upfitter switches. All right, I got the bumper back into position. I just need to bolt it back to the frame horns now, but you can see that sits in there real nice, real concealed. And I set it up high so it clears the parking sensors really well too. I can't wait to get this thing wired up. So this is legit so easy. The power cable, it literally routes straight up to the auxiliary coil, and we've got a ground right here and everything. This would be super simple to wire up, and we will be ready to go. Alright, so it's about 10 to 10 at night. I've got the light bar installed. I've got the normal headlights on the truck right now. It's still not quite super dark yet, but just coming down this hill here, I'll show you the difference. That's with the amber bar on, and that's with it off. So great light output on this thing. It's a winner. I'm happy with it. So again, here's the light on. Lights everything up really well and